What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Tyler Stringfellow.
And today, guys, we have a fantastic episode in store for you. We're going to be breaking down the Celtics Game 1 victory over the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals, as well as previewing what both teams will need to do for Game 2. We're then going to jump over to the MLB and talk about one of the wildest fantasy football controversies going on. It's going on in the MLB, and it's involving the MLB's best player, Mike Trout. He's getting involved in this whole sweepstakes, so we'll have to give you the update on that. And then finally, we'll be wrapping things up on today's show by breaking down the terrific career of one Ryan Fitzpatrick. Unfortunately, he's retiring after 17 seasons in the NFL. We'll give you our thoughts on that, as well as who we think could be in line to replace him as the people's favorite across the NFL. Obviously, Tyler, it's been a while since you've been on the show. Welcome back to the show, man. Glad to have you back on. How have you been?
I've been good. Life has just been going on, working, internship, spending time with family, and then it's kind of relaxing. I mean, it's been a long, rough year for me, school wise, swimming wise, edge of life. So it's nice to sit back, relax after like work and stuff like that. Watch some TV and just watch some sports and just hang out and watch the Celtics absolutely take it to the Warriors, but only in the final quarter. But
So honestly, throughout this entire game, going into Game 1, I was pretty nervous going into Game 1. I thought the Warriors were going to just roll over us. And, I actually didn't get a chance to watch the first couple minutes of the game. I was actually at my brother's graduation ceremony last night. Shout out to Pat. Obviously, congrats on making it out of high school.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, but listen, we end up going out to dinner around we get into the restaurant about halfway through the first quarter, and I see the score at that point is 22 to 25, and I was like, oh, it's respectable so far. Okay, we're in a decent position. And I watched it up about until maybe halfway through the fourth quarter, and then I had to get up and then was kind of just checking things on my phone throughout the night. By the time we were getting ready to go, it looked like my worst fears had come true, and the Warriors were just steamrolling the Celtics. They were just unstoppable. The Celtics were just bricking shots, and it was not looking good for us. And then all of a sudden, everything clicked. We went on It was unbelievable. We went on a 17-0 run and just absolutely came back and just devoured the Warriors in the late fourth quarter. I was not expecting it. It was awesome. And then, we ended up winning the game 120 to 108. Great game for the Celtics. And, we'll talk about some of the, inner workings of the game. But Tyler, just your thoughts on the comeback in general. What was going through your mind when that was happening?
Well, as I mentioned in the beginning of the game, I wasn't too confident. They like you said, the score was 25-22. Curry had 21, I'm pretty sure, of those 22 points. But Curry was shooting lights out. When Clay was shooting, he was pretty much making everything. Poole and Wiggins was playing pretty good defense. Jordan Poole wasn't playing too well, but Draymond Green was doing okay. But the Celtics did not look good at all at the beginning of the game. They kept the score close, which is and I was thinking this throughout the whole game. So when the Celtics play like crap, they're still one of the best teams in the league because they have so many scorers, they have so many dynamic players, and they work well together. And none of them are really selfish anymore, which is why I think we're in the finals. But when they click, as you saw at the end of the game, they're arguably the best team in the league this year, and they're unstoppable. I mean, they won a 17-0 run against the Golden State Warriors. And I think that says a lot because at the beginning of the game, they were getting looks. They weren't playing. They weren't shooting well. They were running around the entire court looking for Steph Curry. And then half the time he was wide open, taking these wide open shots. And that's Stephen Curry. He's the greatest shooter of all time. You can't be doing that. No. So I had to shut it off at halftime, sadly. I had 5 a.m. practice the next day, so didn't get to watch the comeback. But I saw all the highlights, saw all the news. It was amazing. But at the beginning of the game, I was like, this is going to be a beatdown. And at the beginning of the game, it looked it. The scoreboard didn't say it, but it looked it by the way they were playing. They were rushing around, and they weren't comfortable. That's the word I'll use. They weren't comfortable. And it
No,
looked
yeah.
like they were new to the finals.
Yeah, no, they weren't comfortable whatsoever. And honestly, it looked like the Golden State Warriors were basically just teaching them a history lesson. And we're saying, hey, we're the 3-time champions. We had that amazing finals run back all those years ago in the 2010s, in the 2010s era. We're going to show you kind of, what we did during that era. And, this is kind of a bit of a history lesson for you. And you saw Steph Curry just making these wide open shots and, running around out there like a madman, looking like the MVP of old. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. It's just all downhill. Yep. Klay Thompson, for what he's been through, even being able to walk is a miracle for him. So seeing him being as mobile as he is incredible. Jordan Poole obviously did his thing. But then again, the Warriors had their struggles throughout the game, and that came back to haunt them. Obviously, Draymond Green, who he said was fine, he played 38 minutes in the game, but only had 4 points. I know he had 11 rebounds, but he was 2 of 12 shooting. For a guy like Draymond Green, if you have 4 points and you take some of those shots away and you spread it out to other guys, you can afford that. But when he's taking 12 shots and he's only making 2 of them, especially, when the Celtics are giving him those shots from deep and he's just bricking them, that's going to kill you down the stretch. And obviously it did.
Yeah.
He's going to be someone in game 2 that's obviously going to have to step it up big time. And, I think, historically he is the type of guy that can do that. But what really impressed me about the Celtics and gives me a lot of, makes me feel really good going into game 2 and the rest of the series. Obviously things can change, is the fact that they did all that with Jason Tatum having a really bad night shooting the basketball.
He was shooting terrible. Yeah. You make better shots than that. And I played basketball with you.
Yeah. And you can attest that it's awful.
Dude, you were like 1 for 100.
Yeah, dude. It's a mental thing. But listen.
But you're right.
Yeah, no. So here's the thing. Jason Tatum, though, passing wise, had the best passing game in an NBA Finals history for a player making their NBA Finals debut. He had 13 assists, which sets a record for any player in the finals with that metric. But shooting the basketball only had 12 points. At one point, I think was 2 for 11 from the field, and it was like, oh my god, this guy can't shoot out of a freaking wet paper bag. He's awful so far.
He shot terrible, and I knew immediately he got sent to the foul line early in the first quarter and missed both shots. And I was like, this is going to be a long game. But luckily for us, Jaylen Brown stepped up, 24 points, which is huge from him, 26 from Big Al, which was awesome. Big Al was getting these looks. I mean, it looked. I saw one of the highlights, and it looked like the entire Golden State team ran down the court chasing the Celtics, but Horford was laying back a little bit. And all of a sudden, I think it was Jaylen Brown and somebody kicked it out to Horford at the top of the arc and just boom, splashed a 3. They totally forgot about him. Like, now this guy's old. He can't make it up and down the court anymore. No, dude, he did that on purpose because he just splashed a 3 in your face.
Yeah.
And like Derek White too. Derek White played amazing.
Yeah, I saw someone say ever since Derek White became a father, he's essentially been the Ray Allen of this team, and I'm like, honest to God, I mean, I've given Derek White a lot of crap so far. I've said that, I don't like some of the shots that he takes sometimes. I think that sometimes he should be facilitating more and spreading the ball around, doing stuff like that. But I'll give him credit. He was knocking down those shots and he was looking really solid. I mean, am I still probably going to give him crap if he's taken some bad shots in other games? Of course I am. But you know what? Credit where it's due, and he was obviously performing really well. Marcus Smart too was incredible last night defensively. Picking off multiple passes, was obviously being really good as our number 1 point guard. Looked awesome last night. So the fact that we were able to do what we did with Jason Tatum having a bad night is indicative of the growth the Celtics team has had. And, obviously this was a decision that I made before the show with you, Tyler, to put on the KD jersey, but I see you wearing the Kyrie jersey.
Screw this guy. Screw this guy.
The difference is, whenever the Celtics would perform well, it would either be Kyrie's performing well and the rest of the team, kind of just, was kind of in standby mode. Or Kyrie would perform badly, and then the rest of the team would figure it out and might win almost in spite of it. Maybe guys like Tatum and Brown would kind of lead the charge there. In this case, though, the Celtics are able to perform well. Tatum is going to be a detriment to the offense. When he's on, the Celtics are just gonna roll in. If Tatum is on, and the rest of the team
feed him.
Yeah, if Tatum is on and the rest of the team is on, it's over. I mean, it's mainly a matter of if Tatum and Smart are on, you're in a good position. But what's good about this team? Right. What's good about this team though is that Jason Tatum doesn't necessarily need to be 100% the guy that night, which he should be, but he doesn't necessarily need to be, which is huge for this team. And the fact that we were able to, in my opinion, steal a game in this series in Golden State, it's amazing for us.
My thing is that I really thought that this series was going to be just Golden State all through. I want the Celtics to win. I'm pulling for them, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I think Golden State's going to win, and because I think they have more depth. But as I was watching the game, I started to realize, wait a minute, I'm dead wrong. The Celtics have more depth because Jason Tatum is arguably one of the best players in the league and best young players in the league by far. And then compare him with Jaylen Brown. When both of those guys are on, they're both dropping 24 points, both of them, and it's magic. Like they're not dropping 41. Not one person's dropping 40 points, the other's dropping another 40. It's 20 and 20, and they're getting it done. They're getting the important shots, and they're knocking them down. But this whole team plays well together. So you got Tatum and Brown, and offensively unstoppable. You got Horford. You can do anything with that man. He's great on defense because he's experienced. He's great on offense because he's just Al Horford. Al Horford is was one of the best shooters in the league at one time. He was one of the best players, all-star, played for the Hawks, took them to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, they were in the Eastern Conference.
The Hawks are. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But when he was with them, he was rolling with them. He's one of the best players. He was rolling. Now we're seeing like little snippets of it, but it's working with Tatum and Brown. Then you got Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year, on defense and on offense. When he's cooking on offense, again, this team is playing so well together because if Tatum's on, it just feed him the ball. If Brown is on, feed him the ball. If Smart's on, feed him the ball. But if Horford's on, Horford is shooting the ball and giving it to these guys because guess what? These guys are also on. These guys are synced up to each other. And when one man is usually playing well, usually all of them are playing well. Yeah. Somebody is doing something well. You mentioned Jason Tatum had a terrible shooting night. Jason Tatum had Lonzo Ball, Magic Johnson eyes the last night and was making these passes and getting these guys open. Yeah. I mean, Lonzo Ball, I think, is one of the best passers, is the best passer in the league. I think that personally. Magic Johnson was one of the best to ever do it. So I think he was channeling his inner Magic Johnson, and if comparison to this year, recently, Lonzo Ball. And then, you got Robert Williams. Robert Williams, I get, is a little beat up, but the man was still, running up and down the court, putting 100% effort in. And he was one of the best defensive rating players this year, and up until he got hurt, he was in conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And like I said, this team is built well, and I think when Brad Stevens went into the front office, he knew that. He was like, one of the things that I need to do is get Al Horford back. And what did he do? He did that. He brought Al Horford back because he was like, Al Horford is a key piece to this championship team if we want to build a championship. And he was right. He wasn't the coach. He wasn't the coach to get them there. It was Ime Udoka. Udoka, who I think should have been Coach of the Year, or at least in the nomination for it. But the other coaches were ridiculous as well. But he was able to tell these guys, all right, we're going to start from scratch right now. You guys all stink, and you guys are all on the same playing field. That not one person is better than the other. You bring this to the table. You bring this. Al Horford's got the experience and the veteran leadership. Jason Tatum brings your star power. Jaylen Brown brings your if your star power is hurting, he's right there behind him. Marcus Smart brings your passing and your defensive rating, and so does Robert Williams. Robert Williams brings that big man energy, but so does Al Horford. And then you got guys like Peyton Pritchard off the bench. If he needs to make a three, he's making that three. He's been shooting very, very well this entire playoffs. And Derek White, what more can you ask from Derek White? 21 points off the bench. I mean, that's way more than asking for, that's more than asking for enough.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, listen, this entire Celtics team as a unit has been rolling really well, and
it's clicking.
Yeah, and it's much different than what we've seen the past couple of years, to where there was a lot of friction between the starters and some of these bench guys. And
Yes.
Marcus Smart punched a picture frame and he was getting pissed off at random stuff like that. And
Egos.
and I think that they've all checked their egos at the door, at least so far this playoff run, and it's done them well. Yeah, and I think it's done them well, and I think them seeing success by doing it could lead them to saying, all right, we can be very successful if we check our egos at the door. And hopefully that could build something then going forward and saying, hey, if we do this, guys, we're going to be successful. And like you said, obviously we're talking about all those guys on the Celtics team, which have been awesome for us. Al Horford has been, the surprise of a lifetime for myself.
Al Horford's been amazing.
I was excited to bring Al Horford back in, and but at the same time I was skeptical because, listen, I mean, I saw what he did. I saw what he was in Philly, and I saw the fact that the Thunder basically
in OKC.
Yeah, I saw the Thunder basically just didn't even play him. They were listing him there. His injury designation was just old, and I was like, oh, that could go one of two ways. But it was also because he was winning them games and was taking them out of lottery conversations. But for what it's worth, Al Horford has been unbelievable for these guys. I mean, the version of Al Horford we're seeing right now is the version that we gave the version we gave that max contract to in 2016, and we're paying for at that point. The guy we got. That's the type of performances that we've been seeing so far. I thought he was just going to be the type of guy to bring back in and, maybe be like a good veteran presence, get a couple points here and there. But no, he's being a legit option for these guys, which is only a plus at this point. I mean, it's so good to see. And I mean, 26 points. He was your leading scorer last night. I mean, who would have thought that in the NBA Finals Game 1? Give me those percentages that Al Horford was going to be your NBA Finals Game 1, leading scorer for the Celtics. I would not have taken that.
I should bet some money.
Yeah.
And I can't technically.
Yeah. So listen, it's been awesome. And I think that, we're in a really good position going forward. But listen, it's only Game 1. This series is far from over. And, give credit to the Golden State Warriors.
Steph Curry.
Exactly. We're playing against a team that, defined the 2010s for the NBA and basically has defined an entire generation for basketball. Obviously, just the way that the three-pointer has taken over the game, that's because of the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are, one of those textbook teams now. And listen, we're wearing the jerseys of the guys that aren't there no more. And listen, they got rid of their guy, and their team chemistry brought them back to the finals too. So obviously Kyrie left the Celtics. Boston, it took them a couple years to recover, but they've now made their way back to dominance. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and now to the NBA Finals. The Warriors, obviously, after losing KD, Steph, Clay, all those guys went down with injuries, and it took them a couple years to get back, but now they're right back in the thick of it. I mean, This is Klay Thompson's, for years that he's played, this is his 6th straight year making the finals, because he didn't play the past 2 years. And, the first year he comes back, they're right back in the final. So, obviously they're not a team to take lightly. For the Golden State Warriors, if you're going into Game 2, what is the one thing that you would say that they need to, focus on?
The Golden State Warriors, I think, need to start getting Jordan Poole more looks, Klay more looks, and they just need to keep feeding Curry, obviously. Yeah. And I think you get those three going, it's done, because Wiggins is a great defensive player, and he actually has been recently in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Draymond Green needs to shoot less, and he's honestly, I think he's their conductor, if you want to say, on the court. I get Steph Curry is Steph Curry, but those guys don't work without Draymond Green. Draymond Green is in there. He's getting these guys these looks. He's a bigger presence. He's like a bigger body, and he's great defensively. And he's getting all these assists, these rebounds, getting these guys these ball, getting the guys these getting these guys the ball. Without him, I don't think they're getting that many looks. And they need to really. I can't really say they can focus on one Celtics player, because what happens if you shut down Tatum? Well, Brown's going to go off. Well, what happens if you shut down Tatum and Brown? Good luck with that. Well, Horford and Smart are going to go off, and you can't stop all four of them. And then you leave Robert Williams, who will just torch you into the paint. And then you got Derek White off the bench and Pritchard. This team is just well built. And I say that because both of these teams were built through the draft. there's only a couple players in the Celtics that were acquired through free agency, and it's Derek White and Horford. Where'd Smart come from? Oh, he was drafted. Tatum, drafted. Brown, drafted. Williams, drafted. Pritchard, drafted. Like, I can't confidently say what the Warriors need to do to the Celtics to beat them, but I can definitely confidently say what they need to do with their guys to win, and that's they need to get Clay a couple more looks, and Steph Curry and Draymond Green needs to shoot a bit less. So, and Wiggins needs to step up a little bit, just a little.
Wiggins definitely needs to step up, and then also going forward, I think that Draymond Green needs to step up as well. I mean, I mentioned it, the 2 of 12 shooting. I mean, either take those shots away or figure out other ways to make baskets and get to the line and drop points for yourself. I get that he's not necessarily a scoring, the scoring option for this team, but he obviously needs to get going. I think they need to utilize Jonathan Kuminga a lot more in the defensive schemes.
Yes.
I mean, he has incredible length. He's a great defensive, option. So I'd say use him down on Tatum and Brown. Obviously Tatum, was kind of a non-factor, but he's not going to be like that in the rest of this series. So I would say use Kuminga on guys like Tatum, use him on Brown when they switch down low. So do that. And then, also just try to figure out, basically Steph Curry, as you said, in my opinion, Steph Curry is the NBA equivalent of F it, Tyreek's down there somewhere, where it's just like, all right, just feed it to Steph. The points will come. Hopefully it's enough to, overcome any
He's
other
not going to miss twice in a row.
No, exactly. So usually it's like, all right, just hand it to Steph, just let him do his magic. So that's what the Warriors basically are going to ride and die on in this series. I think that, it's going to be, a very big test for them in game 2. Would you consider it to be a must-win game for the Warriors in game 2?
Yeah. Because obviously the Celtics haven't played too well at home throughout the playoffs. I mean, they've played well. It's Boston. Yeah. But they haven't played amazing at home like all the time. So it's definitely something that they could easily win in Boston. Or I should say Boston. They could easily win in Boston. But it is because the Celtics have played very well on the road, and they won Game 7 in Miami. A Game 7 in Miami. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
When I heard that, when we lost Game 6, in my mind the series was over, because
I thought the series was over.
Because I was like, oh, we're gonna go back down to Miami. The fans are gonna be rabid. It's gonna be 2012 all over again. We're not. I was like, we're not getting out of there alive. And the fact that we did is a miracle, and that gives me incredible faith of what we can do on the road.
Yes, it does.
At home, though, we have struggled, and it's been really bad. So, I mean, if this was any regular finals, you're going back to the home stadium, I'd say, oh yeah, this is a must-win game. But in reality, they haven't. The Celtics just haven't played well at TD Garden. When we had the Heat, against the wall, and it was like, oh, we have these guys right where we want them. We're going back to TD Garden. We're gonna finish them off nice and easy. The Heat come in, and Jimmy Butler is an absolute stud. Looks like the son of Michael Jordan, which he is. Just comes in there and torches us. So. In any other, situation, I would say this is a must-win game, but in reality, I don't really feel like it is. Because the Warriors can catch up on you real quick, because, just like the Celtics went on a 17-0 run, the Warriors can just, like, in a matter of minutes be up 20 on you. Like 3 minutes could go by and they're up 20.
They'll be up by 20 because they have 2 of the greatest shooters of all time.
Exactly.
And then you throw in Jordan Poole and they're done.
No.
But the problem is that I saw the problem I saw with the Celtics is at home is that they didn't really it didn't seem they really leaned on the crowd a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's only a couple places in the NBA where teams can really lean on the crowd, and that's 100% would be if a New York team was in the playoffs. It would 100% be New York, because I remember
it wouldn't be the so here's the thing. It wouldn't be the Barclays Center, but it would be Madison Square Garden.
It would be Madison Square Garden, because I do remember when the Hawks and the Knicks played, Madison Square Garden was rowdy.
Yeah.
It was really rowdy. So TD Garden, Madison Square Garden, and I'll throw in and definitely Miami.
Yes.
And Golden State, yes, but only recently.
And I wouldn't even
But
say Golden State during game one, when they were on their run, they honestly weren't into it as I thought they would be. That could change as the series gets more intense, but
yeah,
they weren't into it as I thought they'd be.
I
Dallas
I
back in the
can't.
early 2010s kind of had that. Uh,
Oh,
I don't know.
LA. It
L-
would be Boston, LA, Miami, and New York.
okay,
The
yeah.
four biggest markets
Yeah, kind of makes
would, would,
sense.
would be the most rowdy. You could throw in Milwaukee, but I don't think. But I think Milwaukee because they lean on Giannis's energy, and when Giannis is feeling it, that crowd goes ballistic.
Yeah.
But
For some reason I'm thinking Dallas as well, just the Mavericks games, but I don't know. I mean, I think you just get a lot of Cowboys spillovers in there, and
yeah,
they bring their rowdiness as it is. So I think that's kind of what
yeah, but
drives that.
I can't really think of any other teams like off the top of my head that really like
Yeah.
just
Just na-
scream
just naturally too.
Philly.
Philly, okay, yeah, I can
Philly,
see that.
Philly would be a bad place to play in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, absolutely. But,
And well, if Detroit got there, I feel like Detroit would be really rowdy just because I feel like
it's
that just because of the Detroit. It's Detroit.
yeah,
Detroit is just naturally has been the place of like the bad boy Pistons, those guys, and a lot of those people will remember that and be like, we need to bring that energy to our fan base, and I think that could cause a problem.
yeah.
But the Celtics really need to lean on their fan base when they come back to Boston because it's going to be extremely loud. It is going to be it is not going to be the place you want to play, especially if you in the playoffs if you're down 2-0.
I mean, the fact that
I wouldn't want to.
yeah, I mean the fact that we at worst at this chance split the first two games out in Golden State, that's already going to drive the Boston fans nuts enough. If we get up 2-0, that might break some
This place is
decibel
going
records.
nuts.
Oh yeah, it's going to be
The
no,
roof
yeah,
is fall off.
they're going to be out for blood. So,
Mhm.
hopefully they can take care of things in game two. Obviously, Jason Tatum's going to need to step it up big time, and they're going to have to make some other adjustments there. The Warriors obviously
Jason
make.
Tatum, Jason Tatum just needs to step up shooting wise.
Mhm.
Leadership wise, he stepped up huge. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that what last night really spoke volume about Jason Tatum as a player and who he's become to be. And I think if this was like maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, he wouldn't this wouldn't be happening. Like
yeah,
he would have not shot in the ball and he would have just been like, what am I doing out here? If I'm not scoring, what am I doing?
yeah,
No, Jason Tatum was shooting like crap, and he if he got these open looks, he would take them. I get it. If you get an open look, take it 100% all day long. You miss it,
yeah,
you miss it. But you need to take that all day long. He's like, nah, I, I'm not making that many. I'm gonna start. Let's get Derek White the ball. He's feeling himself. Oh, let's get Jaylen Brown the ball, and he's over there throwing up the three. And I'm like, that's a leader. That is speaks volume to I think Ime Udoka's coaching, and I think Al Horford's presence again. Because Al Horford again, I'm a big fan of having that veteran presence in the locker room, and especially Al Horford, dude who's been trying to get there his entire career, finally does. Leading scorer on the team, on a very talented team.
no, yeah. I
So
mean,
I
it's
just
been
think it speaks volume to Tatum.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it speaks volumes. He's going to need to step it up, but I'm excited for game two. If you have to give your prediction right now, though, what is your prediction for game two?
I think this. I think if Curry and Clay are feeling themselves, they'll win. But if
Yeah.
one person's feeling themselves, I don't think they stand a chance.
I think that the Warriors are going to storm back hard, and it's just a matter of Steph Curry is on, which is usually as long as the sky is blue is the case. So
Yeah.
I think the Warriors are maybe the I feel like the Celtics obviously. The thing with them is that they always kind of get a little heady. So I think that they are probably going to get a little bit of that kind of a feeling in game two, maybe get a little bit ahead of themselves, take a tough loss. Maybe they'll battle back at the end. But that's my prediction for game two is that the Celtics will probably lose by, I'd say maybe like, 7 to 10 points. It'll be the final.
I'm going to write down my score prediction right here.
Okay.
I'm gonna write down a score prediction.
Okay.
All right. I want to put it on paper so there's real proof of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the score of game one was 120-108, right?
Yes, it was a 12-point game.
Let's see. I'm gonna go. Mm, 112 to 110.
Okay. Warriors? Well, I mean, you have to decide who's that going to. Who's getting that last bucket?
These.
You're giving it to the C's.
I'm not trying to be like I'm from Boston. I want to throw the Celtics. Celtics going to sweep the Golden State Warriors.
No,
No.
yeah,
But I really think they can throw a win together based off of what I saw, and I honestly think it took them a minute to feel themselves. They get the nerves out. Horford needed to get the nerves out, but I don't think he was nervous at all. I think he was born ready for the finals.
Yeah.
He was born ready to do this. Tatum needed to get the kinks out, and then that first finals game is done. But like I said, he moved on to a different aspect of his game, which speaks volume to who he is. And he's like, all right, I'll feel myself out that way. Maybe I'll shoot better next game. That's good. Jaylen Brown needed a quarter. The whole team needed a quarter to finally mesh with each other, and they sure as hell did.
No, they definitely did. If I have to give my score prediction, I'll probably say Warriors 104, Celtics 97. That's my score prediction.
Wow, 104. 497.
That's my prediction for game 2.
But
we'll have to give a. I mean, obviously, I want the C's all the way. I would, if I was putting money down on it, I'd say put money on the C's. But listen, I want the C's to win. I want them to win. But if I'm, making a prediction of who I think is going to win, I think the Warriors are probably going to win game 2. So that's my prediction for that. We're going to now have to move on into MLB news. As we do that, I'm going to end up taking off this rag that I have on. So I'm going to get rid of that piece of trash, and we're going to move on into MLB news.
I need to burn this.
Yeah, honest to God, my brother won that KD jersey at Six Flags and just has it ever since.
Oh, this
then.
I bought this. This is fake though.
Ooh.
It's stitched on, so I didn't even pay full price. I paid like $12 for it.
That's funny stuff.
But it's a collector's item at this point.
Oh yeah, no, it's I'm surprised so many of them still exist. I mean, most of them I thought were burned in the aftermath.
Man, I should get a Dwayne Wade Cavs jersey to match with that.
Oh my God.
And a Dwight Howard Atlanta Hawks jersey.
All right. But as we move on, obviously we're moving on into MLB news now at this point, Tyler. And it's kind of funny because, this MLB story, it just shows how inept baseball is to create their own storylines. And the biggest drama going on in the MLB right now involves football, and it involves fantasy football because if you didn't check, I love fantasy football. I mean, how'd you do in your league last year?
I came in second in my league. Give
Congratulations.
it to me. I drafted Jalen Hurts, and people called me crazy. I drafted Jalen Hurts, and I got second. I had Nick Chubb carrying me all the way. I had Jamar Chase. People call me crazy for drafting him too.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, congratulations to you for coming in second. Maybe you'll get
about you.
I didn't have the greatest season this year. I've won the championship like 2 to 3 times. It's been maybe 2 years since I last won the chip. So I'll be looking to draft another good team come this year. I'm actually going to maybe try to actually do some homework this time as opposed to just saying F it and go into it. So maybe I'll try to do some background research. But in this fantasy football dispute, this was a storyline that emerged last week, and it involves Reds outfielder Tommy Pham and Giants outfielder Jock Pederson. The two were in a fantasy football group last year. And essentially what happened is Jock Pederson was stashing injured players on his injured reserve that were simply just out and not injured for multiple weeks. And Tommy Pham basically said, hey, that's BS. I don't want you doing this. And Jock Pederson said, well, it's the rule. So if I'm allowed to do it, why shouldn't I? And this led Tommy Pham to go up to Jock Pederson before their game and slap him straight across the face. They have video of this too. It was a pretty clean slap. So I was like, oh my God. Why is everyone getting slapped nowadays? Part of me was like, all right, why is everybody getting slapped nowadays? But with that though, people were like, this is crazy. Tommy Pham gets suspended 3 games because he just basically came out and said, yeah, I did it. Like, what about it? Jock Pederson comes out and explains the whole situation. He goes, yeah, well, Tommy Pham has had a guy that was doing the exact same thing. I mean, he mentions Jeff Wilson, who's I believe a running back for the 49ers. And he said, and Jock Pederson goes, yeah, Tommy Pham was doing the exact same thing, but he was coming at me. Apparently, there's a lot of money probably on the line in this league. Maybe these guys are putting down like somewhere between 10 and 50 grand, to create the ultimate prize here. So I don't know. I don't know if Tommy Pham felt that, he got screwed out of maybe, 500 grand, something like that. That was the total overall prize. But to go up and slap a man across the face is pretty crazy. And it was bad enough for Tommy Pham to do one of the biggest faux pas in all of fantasy sports. He left the fantasy football group, by week 5. By week 5, he was so pissed off that he just said, you know what, I'm out. And he just left. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest faux pas that you can have in fantasy football. You never want to do that. And it looked like this story was over. Tommy Pham gets suspended 3 games. He comes back. It was like, whatever. But then all of a sudden, the bigger bombshell comes down. And this affects MLB's golden boy, Mike Trout. Because it's only fitting that the best player in Major League Baseball is actually the commissioner of a fantasy football league. And Tommy Pham basically said that Mike Trout could have prevented this whole situation. According to Tommy Pham, he said, Trout did a terrible job, man. Trout's the worst commissioner in fantasy sports because he allowed a lot of shit to go on, and he could have solved it all. Nobody wanted to be commissioner. I didn't want to be the fucking commissioner. I've got shit to do. He wanted to do it. So we put it on him. It was kind of our fault too. We made him the commissioner. So they own up and say, listen, Trout didn't want to do this, but we kind of just threw the shit on him. Obviously ridiculous situation there. But Trout basically came out and said, it's just a very competitive league. Those guys love fantasy football. Who doesn't? He ended up saying
fantasy football can get wicked competitive for no reason.
Oh, it gets way too over the top. And most likely, let's face it, Jock Pederson's like that guy that's like, on you every Sunday. He's like texting the group chat nonstop, just being like, hey, what's going on, guys? Like, like really in depth, like watching the ESPN breakdowns of everything going on. It's like, okay, dude, like enough's enough. Let's chill the hell out here. But fair enough. If he wants to be that involved in the league, let him be that involved in the league. That's his right to do that. Obviously, to get slapped across the face is another thing. Then to bring Mike Trout into this is a whole nother ball game. Trout basically came out and said, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be commissioner again. I don't really like getting ragged on like this. It's not really too fun. No. So, what are your thoughts on this craziness?
I mean, like, I get it. Fantasy football can be very, very competitive, and sometimes you get too carried away. Yeah. I mean, me and my roommate were literally arguing with each other. We were like, no, like he was yelling at me saying, I'm not going to make the playoffs. And I'm just like, bro, chill out. And we started going at each other. I'm like, you don't say that to me. And I'm like, this is fantasy football. And we're just yelling at each other in our rooms. Our other roommates are coming in and are like, what are you guys doing? We're like, stay out of it. It's fantasy football. You don't know what you're talking about. And then we just kept going at each other. All fun and games. It was awesome. We aren't going to hit each other. But I think slapping somebody on the professional stage is a little unwarranted.
A little?
I mean, like,
it's unwarranted. You don't do that. I mean,
I get.
Here's the thing too. What? This was from week 5, so he carried this grudge from October to now.
Yeah. Wait. Why is he taking? My question to him is, why is he worried now?
Well, I guess like Tommy Pham basically called Jock Pederson out for this in a group chat, and Jock Pederson just sent him like a GIF of like making fun of like
let's play 8-ball pool.
Yeah, yeah, basically just like making fun of him and stuff. And I was like, and Tommy Pham got like really like over the top, like pissed off at this. And I mean, listen, I'm in a league that I've played in leagues where there's no money on the line and people still get pissed off. Like I've been in bragging rights leagues and people still get pissed off. Like I remember there was a couple years back where it was me and my friends from my hometown, and my brother's also in the league. So my brother and I was the commissioner of my league, and my brother had access to my computer. So one week he went in and edited his lineup after the things were already set. This was like years ago, but he goes in and he edits his lineup after the game had already started because like, I guess he had an injured player that he didn't adjust and he wanted to put someone else in, and bad stuff going on. It got ugly. And my friends are saying, yo, your brother is we need to get him out of the league. Oh my God, we cannot believe this. I was like, this is bad.
I mean, like I mentioned before, me and my roommate were going at each other in a no prize league, bragging rights. And my other league, it was when loser buys a winner a 30 rack of booze. And I got a 12 pack because it came second, which is kind of nice. But it's just like that league became very, very competitive because everybody wanted a free rag of booze. And I mean, it was just I don't get how you can go slap somebody but hold a grudge for that long. I mean, I forget.
Yeah.
Dude, I was about to just text my roommate. Dude, who won our fantasy football league? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like who won? How can you remember that?
Yeah,
From October, especially being a professional. You know how many things you have to remember as a professional baseball player?
Yeah.
And you're worried about fantasy football?
No, yeah. I mean, literally, like for me, once like the last week of fantasy football is over, you know, by the time the Super Bowl comes around, it feels like ages since I last played. Like,
right.
I don't know about like the season is still going on, like technically with playoffs. Obviously, your fantasy season has ended, but like the NFL season is still going on. By the time fantasy playoffs are over, between that time and the Super Bowl, which is about a month, it feels like a year has gone by. It's just and I'd be asking the same thing. I'd be like, wait, who did win the fantasy football Super Bowl? Like, if you weren't the winner, it's like, wait, who did win it? I completely forget. So, like the fact that he was able to hold a grudge for that long is actually wild. And the fact that it got Mike Trout involved too is even crazier. I mean, I'm just wondering who's in these fantasy football leagues. I heard that Mike Moustakas was involved in this league. Eric Hosmer was involved in the league. Manny Machado was in this league. So there are some competitive individuals going on playing fantasy football at this point. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy, and it's cool seeing these professionals play this little game that like all the fans play, and you're like, they play it too. I think it's really funny.
I mean, of course they play it though. They're professional athletes. They're some of the most competitive human beings ever produced. You can't make that up.
I thought I do vividly remember. I think the Panthers were on a series or on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And I remember Steve Smith was there, and he was talking to Cam Newton. He's like, should I start DJ Moore or should I start DeAndre Hopkins? And he goes, well, you start DJ Moore. And DJ Moore is standing right next to Steve Smith. He's saying it to his face. And I'm just like, this is hilarious because I wonder if those guys actually play. But I thought it was so funny because like,
well, Steve Smith, Steve Smith at that point was retired.
No, I know. I'm talking about like the DJ Moore and Cam Newton. I'm like, do they play?
They don't play. No, they don't play.
No, like I know they do, but imagine if they did. Do I start myself or do I bench myself? Do I draft myself?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're Tom Brady. Do you draft yourself or do you be like, nah, man, I'm gonna draft Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen?
Tom Brady's kids have said that they don't draft their dad.
No, I wouldn't.
They've literally said, yeah, we'll take Mahomes over you. And he's
I take so many quarterbacks over Brady right now.
No, I know, but like in like a league, like
that's
like
just really funny.
Yeah, like he'll be like, yeah, my kids don't pick me in my own in like fantasy football. They just don't do it. They'll like have someone else do it, and I'm like, that's crazy.
I think I saw, you got to look for those watching. You got to look up Jimmy Fallon interviews Kevin Durant about 2K, and he goes, did you play a lot? And he goes, well, yeah, I played 2K a lot. Like, it's basketball. I love playing basketball. Me and my buddies come over, get like a tournament. It's really fun. And he goes, who do you play as? He goes, do you play yourself? He goes, no, I think that's kind of arrogant. And the whole crowd starts dying laughing. And then Jimmy Fallon's just like, who do you play as? And he goes, I don't have a set. I play as everybody. He goes, who do you play as? And he goes, all right, LeBron.
Yeah. It's like
you got to watch it. It's the way he says it and the way he brings it up. Hilarious. Totally recommend. But yeah, it's ridiculous seeing somebody slap another person in the face over fantasy football. I mean, like it's literally in the name. It's fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah.
It's not real. I mean, unless you play for money, then different.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, crazy incident going on there. Again, it does suck that MLB has to rely on another sport to fuel their to fuel their media cycle, but however, we got to do it. So obviously that's our MLB minute. Before we do close things though, we're going to stay on football in a sense and actually switch over to the NFL, the real football, not the fantasy stuff. And we're going to be talking about a fan favorite quarterback that captured the hearts and minds of everyone around everyone around the football sphere. Ryan Fitzpatrick, better known as Fitzmagic, has officially announced that he's going to be retiring after 17 seasons in the NFL. It's a damn shame. I mean, listen,
shame.
He was set up originally with the Washington football team last year, went down in week 1 with a bad injury, never got to come back. And that was the end of his NFL career. Obviously, had some great successes throughout his career. Never made it to the playoffs though, but was able to be a really serviceable starter at certain points throughout his career. Tyler, yeah. I mean, Buffalo, and then obviously he goes down to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, takes over for Jameis Winston, at one point. Jameis Winston struggling. They start Ryan Fitzpatrick one game, lights up the charts. I mean,
that's where Fitzmagic came from.
That's where Fitzmagic was born. I mean, he stole he borrowed Deshaun Jackson's designer jacket and wore that and like chains up on the stage. And everyone was like, this is amazing. Like he is buying into this whole Fitzmagic thing right now. And it was awesome to see. So, obviously he's now retiring, stepping away from the game. I mean, listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick was never, obviously has incredible talent to make it to the NFL and be a quarterback.
He was a Harvard grad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So incredibly smart individual. And then obviously made it to the NFL. Amazing career, obviously, but not the type of a career that's probably going to get remembered by a Hall of Fame induction, anything of that sort. But how will you probably remember Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tyler?
I just remember as the dude with the beard that bought into Fitzmagic. I mean, I like Chubby's the clothing brand, and they're full into like the chest hair, the beards, the tight shorts, and he was all into that. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, look at this guy. And he's up on stage doing it. And then, he'd have a nice game and he'd be like, oh, okay. Like, okay. Now I see why you're in the NFL. But then we were reminded why he's also Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. I mean, he would have glimpses. I mean, even when he was with the Jets, he had them go 10-6 one year. They were a game out from the playoffs. They were literally, I think, going to be second in the AFC East. And then, suffered I think he either got hurt or had a bad loss at the end of the year and it like took him out of the playoffs. I think they were facing Buffalo and they lost in the game. They literally just had to win and they would have been fine, lost out of the playoffs. And they rewarded him with like a big contract, didn't live up to those expectations. And basically for him, whenever he was put in a situation with, low rewards of, like a vet min contract, he went out there and performed. It was when, he got like these really like, great deals and like a great amounts of money that he kind of struggled at certain points, which was kind of odd. I mean, he kind of thrived, more when, when the stakes were lower, which was interesting.
Yeah, he was calm. I think he was more calm.
Yeah.
Calmness has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So there was that too. But I think I'll remember Ryan Fitzpatrick the same way I remember barefoot punters, where I'll look back on an NFL countdown in a couple of years, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a thing, that was awesome. I mean, like you think about barefoot punters, it's like, wait, they did that? It's like, oh my god, this was.
But the people that remember it are like, oh yeah, I remember that.
This was like the thing when it happened, and I think the people who look back and will remember Ryan Fitzpatrick, remember Fitzmagic when it was going on, they'll kind of remember that similar kind of feel. So obviously, with him now going out the door, so does the the NFL fans, people's champion, as I like to call him. Obviously, never made it to playoffs, never made it to like a Super Bowl, but was incredibly liked around the NFL. In your mind, who is a guy that would most likely be able to go and replace him as that, fan favorite? Maybe not the greatest player, but, replace him with that kind of a mix going forward.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's is your guy? I mean, I think Joe Burrow's better. Joe Burrow's better than
Joe Shiesty.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow's better than that, though. That's thing.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not doing anything on abilities. I'm doing on character, personality alone. Joe Burrow. You seen that video of him smoking the cigar after the national championship? That man screams similar to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
I think he just does. He's really funny the way he dresses. He buys into all of it, but then he goes out on the field and lights it up.
Yeah. All right.
So he
I like
does both.
Yeah, no, I actually like that assessment. I was going more on the end skill side, and I wasn't even thinking of Joe Shiesty. Obviously, that's a great comparison there, just in terms of the style on and off the field. In terms of play style with the mix of the character, I'm probably going to go into the guy that Ryan Fitzpatrick actually replaced in Tampa, Jameis Winston. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's in New Orleans now. He's getting a chance to be a starter down there. Maybe doesn't have, maybe isn't that type of all-star, Pro Bowl level quarterback, at least from what we've seen so far. But he's a fun guy to be around. He brings the energy with
He's
him.
just funny. He's just funny.
So I think he, after tearing his ACL, I think in like week 10, he's in the locker room like dancing on crutches. He's dancing on his crutches. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like a maniac.
This guy's ridiculous.
He's out there eating the W's, doing all like the fun stuff like that. So
this is W.
Yeah. So I think if there's anything, if there's anyone to possibly replace him, replace Ryan Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, it would be Jameis Winston. I like your pick of Joe Burrow, though. Obviously, two great selections there. Any final words on Ryan Fitzpatrick and his career before we step away?
It's going to be strange not seeing like him in a uniform. Obviously, he played for like 9 different teams.
Yeah, I mean, what uniform is the question?
But the man played at Harvard and had a 17-year NFL career, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
or 14, something. It was long.
17 years.
17. Okay, so I was right. Good for him. He made a lot of money. And he had some great memories, and I think he's going to be very well liked and just remembered because of his personality, which is, I think, something you want to be remembered more than just your play. You want to be remembered for who you are, which is, I think, is just, it was way more important to me. So
yeah, I hope they get him involved in like a commentary role, similar to like a Tony Romo.
Tony Romo is God in the booth.
So I hope they get like a personality like him, maybe in the booth, do something like that with him, because I think
him and Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he went to Harvard, so he's smart enough to make some moves post career. I hope he does capitalize on that and go from there. But
good for him. Congrats on a great career.
Yeah, another people's champ gone. Obviously we were talking about before the show. Talked about him being the people's champ of the NFL. MLB had Bartolo Colon, aka Big Sexy, for so long. So two very esteemed guys now, leaving, kind of leaving at this point. But Tyler, unfortunately,
the NBA have anybody?
Trying to think.
I can't think. All I can think of is Shaq, but Shaq was amazing.
Yeah, Shaq was amazing. So I don't know. JaVale McGee.
JaVale McGee.
Yeah, it'd probably be JaVale McGee. It'd probably be JaVale McGee.
There's got to be somebody else. Nate Robinson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's always really tiny, but played huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are probably some good examples there. But Tyler, unfortunately, we are now down to the wire, which means that we're going to wrap things up on this episode and send you guys on your way into the weekend. Obviously, welcome to Mr. Tyler Stringfellow back onto the show. Tyler, it's been too long. Thank you for showing up again, man. I really appreciate you coming back on.
I love being on. I have a great time. Love talking sports. Love talking Celtics.
Yeah.
Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots, and then anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look to get you on some more throughout the summer, and then pick things back up when we get back at school.
Sports are fun because you can always have a big take, but you can back it up. If you're good at talking sports, you can back it up.
Absolutely.
So I have fun doing it. I have fun doing it with you.
Absolutely, man. So we'll definitely look to get you back on throughout the summer, and then pick things back up at school where we left off. Should be really good. Got some good things coming throughout the summer. Got some good, athletes kind of in the works. So that'll be some stuff that you guys can look forward to over here. Obviously we're carrying things, we're always, reporting on sports too. So stay tuned with that. If you're not following us though, at this point, I mean,
what are you doing, man? Come on. It's so easy. You click a button and it says subscribe, and then it says unsubscribe, subscribe. You can click it again, then click it, and then click it one more time, because you got to be subscribed to listen to get this content, because You're going to love it.
No, absolutely. You are going to love it. It's available everywhere you guys can find podcasts, whether that be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. The video stream to this show is also available on our YouTube channel. And you can find all of those links, all of them, in our Instagram bio at down.to-the-wire. Again, at down.to-the-wire. Thank you guys so much for listening. And from DTW, I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Tyler Stringfellow.
And we hope you guys have a great night. Take care and peace
Have a good one.
out.